Donald Trump not only can win the presidency, he probably will win the presidency. And mainly because folks on the liberal side continue to say it's over. They're actually depressing their own turnout already, demobilizing and demoralizing their own base by saying, well, this guy is so unelectable, there's no point in us even worrying about it. I say, au contraire.
That was CNN's own Van Jones on a Facebook rant, warning Democrats to take Donald Trump seriously. Back with our panel, insiders all. Do you share that concern that, assuming Clinton does get the nomination, and I know that's not an assumption you're ready to give, but assuming it happens, that they take Donald Trump's weaknesses as a given and are too complacent about this?
Yeah, no, I think people are. I think Donald Trump can really change the map. I think he can compete in ways that other Republicans cannot, more traditional Republicans. So I think he's a very, very dangerous threat to Democrats. You know, Bernie Sanders has consistently, and the recent polls showed again, Bernie Sanders consistently runs better against Trump than does Secretary Clinton or any of the other Republicans, frankly, for that matter. One of the reasons why I think superdelegates at the convention are going to take another look at Bernie Sanders.
So, Karen, let me ask you, one of the biggest arguments from the Sanders campaign is that Sanders, more attractive to independent voters. Well, and that's factually correct. He's not to Democrats, but he is to independents.
That I would make, though. That is now under the current circumstance. I think a lot of these polls don't really have much meaning until it's very real. When it's real, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, I think that is very different than when it's a theoretical conversation. And I think that there is no question. I think the most important thing to say here is we absolutely take Donald Trump very seriously. I mean, he would be very dangerous and divisive for this country, not just in the context of our foreign policy, which Secretary Clinton talked about. I mean, this new strategy of, I'm just not going to tell you. I don't think anybody thinks that's a good idea. But then also on domestic policy, I mean, the way he's talked about Muslims, the way he's talked about women. And I thought Hillary's point is well taken, that it's not, you know, she can take the attacks. I mean, she's been attacked for years and she gets back up and keeps going. But what I think that they miscalculate is that I know a lot of women who know the feeling of being accused that the only reason they're at the table or in the room is because they're a woman. And so I think there are a lot of places where that divisive, sexist bigotry, you know, that rhetoric is not going to resonate with people. Now, that also means on the Democratic side, we still have to work hard to make sure that people turn out to vote, that people are, you know, coming out to vote because they feel they see a vision, a positive vision. But then the third piece of it that I think is really critically important is that we also protect the right to vote, because I have every confidence that Republicans will do everything they can to suppress Democratic voters.
Rick, are you concerned at all? I had Senator Sessions on the show the other day, who's the only person in the Senate who has come out and endorsed Donald Trump. And I showed him the numbers of general electorate female voters, and it's something like 76% have a negative view of Donald Trump, 24% positive, something like that. And I said, does that concern you? He said, yeah, we're going to have to address that. Are you concerned when Donald Trump says things like, Hillary's playing the woman card, Hillary, if she were a man, she'd be at 5% in the polls? Are you worried at all that this language turns off potential Trump voters who are female?
I think we're sitting here on May 1st, and I agree with what Karen said, where these national polls, general election matchups, will change dramatically once we get through Cleveland and the Democrats get through Philadelphia. The landscape changes dramatically. The GW Battleground poll that was released last week, you know, shows us 2 points behind Hillary Clinton, but running well. You know, 35% of the Hispanic vote was Donald Trump right there. So it changes dramatically. Look, I mean, John King said it earlier today, you know, the Stop Trump movement is like taking a squirt gun to a forest fire. But he has received, you know, an avalanche of negative ads run against him. So your negatives are going to be, you know, astronomically high until you secure that nomination. And then we make the general election pivot where you start talking about, I mean, look, I mean, we're down to 3. And so we have survived this long, and we're going to take this into a convention. But we're going to get 1237 before we get to the convention, and then go from there.
Trent.
Well, I agree with Karen that Hillary Clinton would destroy Donald Trump in a general election matchup. We've had 16 polls that show that John Kasich's the only one that can win. And to your point, Rick, I mean, these polls do kind of matter because Trump's going in the wrong direction. His negatives keep getting worse. His underwater rating keeps getting worse. And his support, not just amongst women, but Republican millennials, it would be a bloodbath. I mean, Donald Trump could do for the Democrats, but they couldn't do for themselves, which is to win the White House and put Chuck Schumer in the majority leader. And I think that's what the delegates are wrestling with. Yeah. Again, there's been 2.5 million more people that have voted against Donald Trump in the Republican primary process. And the delegates, the fact that we're having an argument, the fact that we're talking about delegates going to these state conventions and saying, I'm a little worried here, is a direct reflection of the apprehension that they have about a Trump candidacy.
Alice, I want to bring you in. One of the things that's so unpredictable about a potential Trump versus Clinton matchup, and again, I know you don't recognize or accept that that's what it's going to be, but if it is that it's uncharted territory. We've never had a candidate like Trump. We've never had a woman candidate. How do you go after Trump? I mean, if nobody has been effective at it, I guess it's fair to say Cruz has been the most effective at it. He's the one that has beat him more than anyone else has beat him. Is he beatable?
Well, here's the premise of this segment, I think, is a little off because he's not going to be the nominee. He is not going to be the one going against Hillary Clinton because we put out an ad this week. There are two sides of the same coin. The more we learn about Donald Trump and the more he puts his policies out there, the more he is like Hillary Clinton. There's not a contrast between the two. He will not be able to prosecute his case against her. They share the same views on foreign policy issues, domestic issues, social issues. They're two sides of the same coin. And the fact that his nonstop insults to women is going to hurt him with the women voters. And also, in terms of getting the necessary delegates, it's not about having the most delegates. It's about having a majority. It's about majority plus one. And the fact that he's not continuing to work the relationships with these delegates at these state conventions, and we continue to do well and acquire delegates, that goes to show that we have a better chance at the convention.
I have to go. Every one of you is invited back by yourself the entire time, just you, I promise. Come on the lead tomorrow. It's all you. We have 5, and we have 5 days in the work week. So come on back. Thank you so much. It was great.